Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's public hearing, virtual on Zoom, to discuss December 12th, 2021 Change Day. My name is Megan Waters. I'm the Community Engagement Manager here at UTA, and I'm just going to go quickly over the agenda for this evening. We'll have our Service Planning Manager, Eric Callison, present the proposed changes and overview. We'll have an opportunity for you to ask any questions or points of clarification on those proposed changes. And then at the end of the meeting, we will have an opportunity for you to verbalize comments or include comments in the chat box, and those will be recorded for our official public involvement record for December Change Day. Okay, I'm going to turn the time over to Eric. If you have any questions throughout, you feel free to type them in the chat or the Q&A boxes at the bottom, so you don't forget them, and we can get to those during the Q&A. But I am going to pass it over to Eric. Eric, are you ready?
Yep, I'm here. Would you
awesome.
like to put my video on?
Yeah, why don't you share your video if you can?
Okay.
Thanks.
Says it's not enabled, but I don't know if that's a setting that you can click.
Probably.
Otherwise, I can be a disembodied voice if I need to. So.
Well, why don't you start and I will figure it out, okay?
Okay, perfect. So first of all, we just want to walk through what the changes are. I know there's been a few questions about the exact nature of the changes. First of all, looking at routes 451 and 454, the proposal is to discontinue the current route 454, which serves Grantsville, as well as the International Center, Airport, and North Temple. And also reroute Route 451 to serve the International Center and the North Temple area. But we are proposing not to reroute Route 451 into the airport in order to save on travel time. And if we can go to the next slide. So this is just a little bit closer zoomed in. Right now, the 454 comes from Grantsville, the 451 comes from Tooele. They meet at the Benson Grist Mill Park and Ride in Stansbury Park. Basically, we would just continue to run the 451 on its current alignment through Tooele and Stansbury and remove the 454 service that goes between Grantsville and Stansbury. And then if we can go to the next slide, you can see currently Route 451 comes in on I-80 all the way to 500, 600 South. Coming into downtown. We propose rerouting that into the International Center to serve riders who are currently taking the 454 to their employment destinations there. As I mentioned a minute ago, not going into the airport in order to save on travel time. That would require current 454 passengers that are traveling to the airport to get off on North Temple at 1940 West Track Station and take the Green Line into the airport. And then once we're already on North Temple, it's more efficient to just continue down North Temple into downtown, saving the trouble of having to get back on the freeway at Redwood, as well as the dead space in between getting off the freeway, going all the way to State Street. Helps us get into downtown a little bit more quickly just to stay on North Temple. And so all of the current 451 stops downtown would be preserved, but they would be used in reverse order. If you catch the bus stop, if you catch the bus in the afternoon, that would be where you would be getting off in the morning and vice versa. If we can go to the next slide. So just to reiterate what the impacts for that are, if you are a current 454 rider from Grantsville, you'll need to access Route 451 at the Benson Grist Mill Park and Ride. Current 454 riders from Tooele will not need to transfer at the Benson Grist Mill. That would be a one-seat ride from Tooele into the International Center and North Temple. However, if you are currently riding Route 454 to the airport, you'll need to transfer to the Trax Green Line at 1940 West Station. Current 451 riders to downtown Salt Lake City will experience an increase in travel time of 2 to 8 minutes in each direction, depending on which trip you take. That is based on the current 451 and 454 run times. We have seen some concerns that the added run time will be much more than that. Basically, what mitigates that is not going into the airport does save us about 20 minutes, as well as removing the dead space on 5th and 6th South, between I-15 and State Street. If we go to the next slide. Route F522 in Salt Lake City is proposed to be discontinued in conjunction with the implementation of UTA on-demand service in Rose Park and Fair Park. You can see the map of the service area covers Rose Park, Fair Park, Poplar Grove, and Glendale on the west side of Salt Lake City. This does cover the entire Route F522 service area, and so it's no longer needed. So we're proposing that we transfer that into the on-demand service. If we can go to the next slide. The main impact to current F522 riders is that they will need to transfer to UTA on demand from 1940 West Station on the Green Line. But on the flip side of that, do have extended hours and days of service to all destinations along 2200 West. Route F522 is currently a peak hour only route on weekdays, and the UTA on-demand service will serve 7 days a week. It will serve all day, and it will serve earlier and later hours than the F522 currently serves. All right, thanks Megan for helping me out with the video. And finally, the last change that's proposed is Route 640, which travels from Layton to Clearfield Front Runner Station, and then through Roy and Ogden, ends at Weber State University. This route, we're not proposing to change the alignment or any weekday service. Just on Saturday, it's currently running every 30 minutes, and we just have not seen the ridership return versus the pre-COVID ridership like we were hoping. And so we would like to reduce the Saturday service to 60 minutes, just be a little bit more efficient use of our resources, help us plan our service a little bit more easily. So if you go to the next slide, the main impact to riders on Route 640 is that on Saturday, you may potentially have longer travel and transfer times due to the lower frequency of service, but all of the stops will be available. It'll be the same hours of service, it will just be less frequent. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. The reasons for these changes is currently we're experiencing a tight labor market like many industries right now in the United States and in Utah. And we're trying to minimize the impact to riders as we navigate this labor market by focusing on areas that we can hopefully still make the service possible while disenfranchising as few riders as possible. Currently, our operations does require drivers to be shuttled from garages in Salt Lake County out to Tooele County to perform that work. And that's fine when we have a large number of operators, bus operators working for us, but it's not possible at the current time because our labor force is depleted. We are undertaking a number of initiatives to try to build that back up as fast as we can. And we hope to not have to make any further service reductions in our system. But this is not necessarily the way that we want to do it. It's not the changes that we would prefer to make. But this is kind of the situation that we're in right now. Try to make it still possible for as many people to make the trips that they're currently making without having to increase the number of drivers that we have to employ in order to perform that service. If you go ahead to the next slide. We do have a couple of other things in the works. Like I say, this isn't necessarily the timeline we want it to be on. We'd love to have a more unified, holistic type of change in August of 2022. But we're going through some lean times in order to get there. But in August of 2022, we've proposed to add a UTA on-demand service in Tooele Valley. That is going to be run in concert with our partners in Tooele County, as well as VIA, who's our third-party service provider for the on-demand service. That would cover Tooele, Grantsville, Stansbury Park, and Erda, and would allow passengers to travel from any point to any other point within the service area. And that would run all day on weekdays, in addition to the 451 service during rush hour and the F453 service during the middle of the day. And on the next slide, we're also working with Salt Lake City as part of their transit master plan. We will be expanding their frequent transit network with some budget and resources that Salt Lake City is providing. So in the area that the F522 serves, we will have UTA on-demand service as well as additional frequent service in the Rose Park and Fair Park areas, as you can see on this map here. And if we go to the next slide. I believe, yeah, that's all of the information we have for this public hearing. And I'll turn the time back over to you, Megan.
Okay, we have some questions coming in through the Q&A, Eric. So I'm going to just start us on those, if you don't mind, answering some of the questions. So Trevor Wiley is asking if the frequency will be increased with the changes to the 451 at all.
Not at this time. We will have to maintain the same number of trips that we're currently running. That is always a possibility, though, if we're able to increase our staffing resources. And we do look at ridership on a daily basis. If we see that ridership is growing, or if we begin to have capacity issues, that's certainly something that we'll try to address to the best of our ability in the coming months, next couple of years, while we're navigating this situation.
Thanks, Eric. We have Quinn Howard asking a couple of questions. So they ask, how many people currently use the 454? Do you have that answer off the top of your head?
The most recent data that we have that's officially cleared is about 18 people per day. That's about 4.5 people per trip, basically all the way from Grantsville into downtown Salt Lake City.
Okay, thanks. And then another one from Quinn, they ask, and they must have gotten some information from us via email too, but when you see it only adds 2 to 8 minutes on the 451, what stops do you calculate that with at the end of the route?
That is from the first stop in Tooele to the last stop in downtown Salt Lake City and vice versa. So if you are traveling to destinations on the northern part of State Street on that route, or if you're traveling to the church office building, that would knock a few minutes off of that travel time. If you are traveling all the way to 5th South, then that will be the full 2 to 8 minute time difference.
Great, thank you, Eric, for answering those questions. If anyone else has questions, feel free to type them in the chat or the Q&A box, or we can promote you to a panelist if you'd like to use the raise your hand function, and I can let you unmute. All right, we have a question from Harry. I'm going to allow you to talk, Harry.
Okay, I've been riding the 451, for 11 years right now. And from time to time, I took the 453 before as well. So this is from my experience. With the 453, it took me extra about 40 minutes. And you mentioned about the extra commute time between 2 and 8 minutes. And to me, when I'm looking at it, because you will get off from the I-80 from the freeway speed going to the International Center, to me, it's not possible 2 minutes. That is not possible, especially when you have people to drop off in every stop. I'm not sure how many stops you have there in the International Center. I know you are mentioned about not using the airport route that will cut about 20 minutes. Yeah, that possible in 20 minutes. But when I'm looking at it, you get out from I-80 going into the International Center with multiple stops, dropping off people. That is not 2 minutes. To me, from my experience with old 453 route, it extra 40 minutes from the 451 when I compare the time. So if you try to get up the airport route, to me, at least 20 minutes extra going with the, with the proposed 451 route. Because especially when you have people in multiple stops like that, it's not a straight line like right now the 451, basically from Stansbury all the way to downtown. And when you go to the International Center, the speed limit is like what, 20, 30 miles an hour? And 2 minutes to me is not possible. It's at least 20 minutes. I hope that somebody will try to, to ride the bus with every stop in the International Center. And with that, I think you will find out I'm sure 100% is more than 2 minutes. That's not possible when I calculate in my head from my own experience from the old 453 is 40 minutes, 40 minutes, you know. It's not, you know, you cut off 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes extra. And also talking about the, you know, that you have issue with the staffing. And, you know, I understand, you know, how you are, you know, what you want to do with this reduction, you know, of the travel, of the, you know, staffing and stuff like that. Are you thinking about just reducing the frequency about the bus, you know, instead of every 30 minutes, now it's every hour? But you, at least we still have the option taking the fast bus or the other route in the old 54. I mean, the current 454 right now. You know, it's just an idea, reducing, you know, you'll be able to reduce the staffing with the less frequency of the buses every hour instead of every 30 minutes. Maybe you can reduce the very early buses at 5 in the morning or something that are very few people ride it. You know, more on the normal time, 6, 7, or, you know, 7:30, whatever. I apologize for the long comment anyway.
I'm just going to summarize a little bit, Harry, because this is just to understand if the question that you would like Eric to go into a little bit more is about potentially how the increased time for the modified routing was. Maybe if we could go into depth a little bit more on that, and then on your suggestion for reducing the frequency on the 451. We are just clarifying and answering questions about the proposed changes at this time, and we'll have the comments after the question and answer period. So Eric, do you want to take a stab at getting into a little bit more detail?
I will just say that, you know, it is something that we are looking at closely to try to make sure that we give it, excuse me, the best estimate that we can. And that is based on what the 454 is doing now in terms of traveling through the International Center as well as down North Temple Street. Like I said, some of the time that we plan to save is also the time between getting off I-15, I-80 and going all the way over to State Street on 5th South or on 6th South. And so that will, I mean, that is based on what the 451 has been doing. So we feel pretty confident in those time estimates, but we'll continue to monitor that. And in terms of the suggestion to look at the frequency of service on the 451, that's definitely something that we can take back to our planners to discuss, to see what the possibility is of a couple different service configurations.
Thanks, Eric, and thanks, Harry, for your questions. I am going to go to the next person with their hand raised, and I do see some questions coming in the Q&A, so we will get to you all. Mark, I'm going to allow you to unmute and ask your question. Hi, Mark.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So my comment is just kind of to respond to the comment of it taking 20 minutes to go to the International Center. I ride the 454 every day and through the International Center, and the bus doesn't stop to every stop. I timed it today. I'm actually on the 454 right now as I speak, but today it took just over 2 minutes to go to the International Center. So I think the big time savings will be not going to the airport, but the International Center is not going to add that much time to the 451. At most 5 minutes, in my opinion. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, I'm going to go to the Q&A. We have Anonymous asking if we have thought about just starting a route at the commercial center and not disrupting the 451. So maybe Eric, if you can just talk a little bit about the planning process there.
Sure. You know, we're trying to still provide access to as many markets as possible. And that includes people who are traveling from Tooele County to downtown Salt Lake City, as well as from Tooele County to the International Center and to the airport destinations on North Temple. We can provide the most trips to everybody, by combining all of these destinations into the same route. That gives everybody 5 trips. And hopefully provides the most access to people. We understand that it's not the same as running trips to downtown and trips to the International Center. But at this point, we're trying to make the most use of the resources that we have. And so that's why we've come to the current configuration that we've proposed. But we will definitely take into consideration everything that we'll hear tonight and do an evaluation with our planners. And then I'll work with Megan, on how we communicate that back to our riders prior to change day.
Thanks, Eric. We have another question about the ridership on 451. How many people are using that route?
Currently, it's between 140 and 150 per day, which is a 65% reduction versus pre-COVID service. And so it's not where we'd like to see it, and we recognize that the world is very different than it was a couple of years ago, but we kind of have to make some of these decisions based on what we've got to work with right now. And the ridership on the 454 currently is, as I mentioned, is very low. It's in the teens per day. And so combined, we've seen a significant reduction in ridership from Tooele County in general, based on current commute patterns and people's comfort level with riding transit.
Thanks, Eric. Another question sort of along the lines of the planning process. An anonymous attendee asks if UTA has done a live test run for the time that the new routing might take.
Yes, we have gone out with operations and driven the new proposed 451 route, and compared that with the run times that we have on the 451 and the 454 now. That doesn't mean that it couldn't be refined, but we have gone out and done some testing on it.
Excellent. And then we do have a couple of questions along the lines of ridership for the new route. So Trevor asks about will all the stops that are currently at the International Center and North Temple still be used? And how much do we anticipate ridership increasing with this change? And then on the opposite kind of hand, Jared asks if we anticipate losing ridership due to changes.
At this point, we do anticipate that we might lose a few riders on the combined 451. And that's not something that we enjoy talking about or proposing. But at this point, our priority is to make the service possible for those who absolutely need it, who don't have another option. And we recognize that that does impact people who are riding, who perhaps do have the option to take another mode of transportation. But that's kind of the situation that we're in, where we just need to make sure that we're providing as much service as possible to the people who don't have another option.
Thanks, Eric. Okay, we have a couple of comments coming in the chat. I'm interpreting some of them as comments, so I'm not going to ask them as questions and just give you an opportunity to verbalize them during the comment period. Does anyone have any additional questions about the proposed changes at this time? Okay, hearing none, I am going to move us to the comment portion. So I'm just going to go in order of the attendee list that I see, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to unmute. You don't have to if you don't want to make a comment. That's totally fine. Just pass. but that's how we're going to do it. We'll give you 3 minutes to make your comment, and then we will move to the next person. I am going to start with Harry. He's at the top of my list. Harry, would you like to make a comment?
Well, I guess I already did earlier. I just have a quick question. If you know by any chance, how many stops do you have in the International Center, and also from North Temple to downtown, roughly? I'm just curious.
It's about 10 stops each way in the International Center, and it's probably about 8. I could look at the map and find the exact number for you if you'd like me to. I can look at that while we take another question. Hang on just a second.
No problem. All right, I am going to give Eric a second and just talk to Jeremy. I see your comments coming through. Those will be recorded, so thank you for typing those out. I'm also going to address, someone asked if the inputs, these inputs are being considered or if the decision is already made. And I did, I'll share this at the end too, but we are accepting comments until November 6th. And this public input is really important to us and is considered in the decision-making process. Our decision on final service changes for December will be published around November 12th. So there are no final decisions made at this point. I hope that helps answer that question.
All right, I got it backwards. There are 6 stops in both directions through the International Center and 12 both directions on the North Temple portion between getting off the freeway just past the airport and 300 West.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Harry. I'm going to go to the next person. I have Mark listed next. Mark, would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, it's just that I understand that the changes are tough, but I agree with them. I think they're the best thing that can happen with the resources you have. Yeah, it's unfortunate the people coming from Grantsville are going to have to deal with that, but I think the changes to the 551 are the best for everybody. I don't think it's going to add that much time, and will be a good thing. Thanks.
Thanks for your comment. Next on my list is Jared. Jared, would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, sorry, I'm actually on the bus right now, so we might hear some noise as I get off the bus. But so as I understand this, we're impacting 141 people on the 150, or excuse me, the express bus for the 18 through the International Center. And between the two, if I'm getting the math right, we're talking about 18 stops. I know there's not somebody at each one of those stops, but I think the big point of this is convenience. And if you have folks that are using the express bus out of convenience, they might drop off because of that. So I don't know. I hope that comments are being considered, not just like you said, already being made. So that's it.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks for joining. Okay, I see Jeremy Schwartz next. Jeremy, would you like to make a comment? Jeremy, I will take that as a no. If you change your mind, let us know in the chat. Next on the list is Quinn Howard. I'm going to allow Quinn to talk. Would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, I do appreciate the considerations. I'll kind of echo the thought of there's a lot of people using this for convenience, for time. I was one of those ones that's it's pushing up against my time limit as far as yeah, bus makes sense versus not making sense. I don't know if there's some other. I've talked to a couple others that would probably be the maybe dropping off if there's more significant time added. I was the one that asked the question about considerations. If it's difficult to shuttle somebody all the way out to Tooele to drive the buses, as I don't know if there's been some additional thought of if you just started the route for the International Center. I know that wouldn't help everybody, but just thoughts there.
Thanks for your comment, Quinn.
Like I said, we will be taking any suggestions that we receive tonight back to the planning team for another round of analysis before the comment period closes. So we appreciate the suggestions.
The last person I see on the list is Trevor. Trevor, would you like to make a comment?
Sure. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
My kid's screaming in the background. I apologize. No, so I can appreciate the shortage of staff and things like that. So my concerns about time and other things we'll just have to see as it goes. Like, I appreciate the forethought into putting this forward, and definitely have my concerns, but I can support whatever. I enjoy taking the bus. It's nice to ride it out from Tooele. And so I hope that as ridership increases, that perhaps more routes can be added again. That'll shorten my time to downtown Salt Lake. But I can be on board with whatever we need to be on board with, despite my issues. So anyway, thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks, Trevor. Thanks for joining. Okay, I think that we have addressed the questions that have come through and heard from everyone that is still here. I just want to thank everyone for their time tonight. I'm going to go to the next slide and just remind everyone that we do have some opportunities to, if you know anyone that wasn't able to make it tonight and wants to weigh in, we do have a few ways for people to leave us a comment. We have our comment period open until November 6th. You can visit our website here. It's actually change day, not August changes. Sorry for that typo. The phone number there is correct and the email is correct. So if those are viable options for you, or if you want to just learn more, as I said, the comment period closes November 6th, and we should be publishing final changes around November 12th. But we really appreciate your time and energy to join us tonight and to tell us what your thoughts and feedback are. So thank you all very much. I will put the correct website in the chat just in case anyone needs it. And I will stop the recording and our live stream, and I will be here until 7.